Richard spins off the track. Twice. JK tries to get to number 1. And Germany or Britain? Which is best? Very much. Now, after our recent trip to Japan, where I raced the bullet train, I stayed on for an extra day so I could drive the incredible Nissan GTR around the track. Now, James, on the other hand, he decided to stay on for a little while because he wanted to drive a car which he claimed would be a lot more relevant to the average British motorist than a jumped-up £50,000 Datsun.
Now, I'm fairly confident you won't have seen one of these before. Are you ready? It's called the Orochi, and its looks are based on a fish, a snake, and Pamela Anderson's mouth. I rather like it. It costs £44,000, and it's made by a company called Mitsuoka. You've probably never heard of them either, but they are a proper Japanese car maker. In fact, they're the 10th biggest car maker in the country, after Toyota, Nissan, Honda, and 6 others. Mitsuoka makes the chassis, the body, and the interior all by itself, but the engine, a 3.3-litre V6, comes from Toyota. So, it looks like a sports car, but is it any good as one? Well, it isn't very fast, it doesn't make much noise, and the ride is surprisingly comfortable. By which I mean, the ride is actually rather excellent for a supercar, so obviously I think it suits me rather well. Although Hammond and Clarkson might like to continue shopping around. But Mitsuoka makes another car, which, on paper, is even more up my street. Here it is, and it's called the Gallew. That foremost social commentator, Alan Partridge, once said that Lexus is Japan's Mercedes-Benz. In which case, the Mitsuoka Gallew could be, but this is only a hunch, Japan's Rolls-Royce. But at a nice, un-Rolls-Royce-ish price, because it costs an agreeable £32,000. But looking like a Rolls-Royce is one thing, feeling like a Rolls-Royce is something completely different. So, to find out whether it does or not, the producers have arranged for me to do a spot of VIP chauffeuring. Not him. Them. Yes, the local sumo wrestler and his manager will need taking to a tournament. Konnichiwa. That's exhausted my Japanese. Right, back to the Japanese Rolls-Royce. Inside the Gallew, Mitsuoka has recreated the ambience of a proper, old-school British luxury car. So there's some wood-ish, there's plush leather seats, but look at this. This clock is exactly roughly like the one on the new Rolls-Royce Phantom. It's like one of those fake expensive watches you get in Thailand. Only a real expert can tell the difference. I am a Rolls-Royce expert, and I was completely taken in. Actually, I didn't mean that. What I meant to say was, it's an utterly shameless rip-off, and I can't believe they're getting away with it. So, what about the performance from the 3.5-litre V6? Is that the genuine article? A Rolls-Royce must be able to whoosh away from a standstill. It can go quite quickly, but it must never feel urgent. It must swell very gently. It must be an orchestral sort of performance. Which that isn't, sorry. Next, handling. A Rolls-Royce should never allow its driver to corner too vigorously, because that would be bad form. It must encourage you to rein things back. Clearly it's not quite right in that respect. I'm very sorry. Very sorry. I cracked on with the job of delivering my VIPs. Happy? Very close to the destination. What? Was that it? Oh. I think they were completely fooled. As some of you may have found out last week, I've got an old Rolls. And let me tell you, the Gallew isn't even on the same planet. But you know what? This car does make me smile. It's not taking itself too seriously. It's just a bit of fun. It's a bit like one of those tribute bands. Yawn Again, Let's Zep, The Strolling Bones. Like those bands, it knows it's not the real thing. But more importantly, it knows you know it's not the real thing. And anyway, at the end of the evening, you're still just as drunk, and you've still had a great time, but it only cost you a £5.
You said that would be more relevant. Is that car going to be sold in the UK?
No.
Good. Richard?
Yes, now, KTM are an Austrian bike manufacturer. They make things like this, the Duke, and it's great. But now they've decided to have a go at a car. And here it is. It's called the Crossbow. Now, the body is made up of plastic panels, just like it is on the bike. You can see all the innards, like you can on the bike. And you have to wear a crash helmet to drive it, like you do on the bike. It really is a stripped-out track car. All you get is a seat, a steering wheel, and a 2-litre turbocharged Audi engine that's enough to take it to 60 miles an hour in under 4 seconds. Apparently, KTM say it is quite a handful, and as a result, they won't sell it to drivers under 24 years old. Just one thing. Lewis Hamilton, he's 23.
Now, the thing about that is it costs £43,000, which seems like a hell of a lot for a motorcycle with 2 extra wheels.
No, it isn't.
Well, it is.
It isn't. You could drive that thing through, what's it called, Oxbow, something like that. You could drive that through a light shower, and you could come out on the other side without all your internal organs being transplanted into someone else.
You don't get that.
No, I tell you what, you two have to live in fear and dread, OK, that you're going to go through the pearly gates with your ripped leathers on, knowing full well that I'm back on Earth as a car driver with your liver. And don't think I'm going to do anything useful with it, because I'm just going to make it into a hat.
I actually carry a card that says, I do not wish to help Jeremy Clarkson be amusing in the event of my death.
Fair enough.
Yes, now, every year, the Scouts make a series of awards, which are relevant to them. I've got the list here. They're very prestigious. They've just announced this year's winners. Previous winners have included Charlie Borman and Ewan McGregor. They won Best Navigation Award. Jamie Oliver won the Healthy Eating Award.
Yeah, now, Ray Mears, it has to be said, has not won the award for services of wearing shorts when you're a grown man. However, their award this year for services to instruction has gone to the Stig.
Yeah.
However, there's a problem. A really big problem. They came down earlier to give him his badge, and he attacked them. We've actually got some footage of it here, seriously. Look. Look, he's trying to stamp on his badge, he hates it, and they took him down. They actually took the Stig down, 2 Scouts.
Awkward, that. It turns out he's terrified of Scouts.
Yeah.
We think he might have been a Girl Guide.
Hey, now, bad news. This week, James popped round to see me, OK, down my local pub, parked his motorcycle outside, not illegally.
No, very considerate.
No, it was illegal, that's right. It was illegally parked, but not inconsiderate. Yeah.
No, exactly.
Fined £120. 120 quid. Now, here's the thing, all right? Both of us, in the not too distant past, have had televisions stolen. So how come they've got the manpower to find your slightly illegally parked motorcycle when they say that they can't find our televisions?
I know, I don't understand it, because I rang up the woman on the parking ticket hotline, inquiry hotline, and I said to her, have you found my television? She had no idea what I was talking about.
I think that if you've had something stolen in your life, how many people here have had something stolen? A lawnmower? Right, nearly everybody. It should be illegal for the police to do you for a trivial motoring offence until they've returned whatever it is you had stolen.
Yes.
Does anybody here think...
Yeah, I think that
If you're watching this, Mr. Brown, that's 100% of British people agree with me. Oh, now, hey, TVR, all right? You know it was bought by a Russian business boy a few years ago. Actually, it wasn't. It was bought by his father as a sort of playset for him. And he crashed it into a hillside, and now TVR's gone. Very sad. However, turns out that he still owns the intellectual property rights, and he still owns the moulds, and he says he's going to bring TVR back. We've actually got a picture here of him testing these new models with his friends. He said this week he was going to announce which model would come back first, but then his mum said he had to come inside for his tea, so...
Hey, great news.
What?
I've been sent more information on the Dacia Sandero.
Excellent. Excellent. Hey, now, you know the new Citroen Berlingo? OK, this is a car we like very much. It costs 11,000, less than £11,000. And for that, you get a very big, very spacious car with the best ride, frankly, of any car under a Rolls-Royce. And I'm thinking, how do they do a car like that for less than 11 grand? So I went on the internet and I found this. Afterwards, OK, I found this. It's the Citroën website, yeah? You know how they always list what a car comes with as standard?
Yeah.
You can tell when a car firm is desperate to think of something when they've got laminated front windscreen.
Wow! As opposed to what? Just a sheet of glass nicked from a greener?
Yeah, no, it gets better. It's got a single front passenger seat.
Huh?
And manually adjustable door mirrors. As opposed to what? The only alternative is electrical, isn't it?
Which is better, so that's just saying it's something it hasn't.
Yeah, it hasn't got electrical door mirrors, it hasn't got alloy wheels. It's a very good car, as long as you want something that's equipped like a Romanian jail.
I've got a question I want to ask.
What?
What if this turns out to be really good?
Well, it won't.
Yeah, but what if it does?
Well, it won't, will it?
Well, it's the new Chevy Camaro, and they've really thought about it. It looks brilliant, obviously. It's got a 6.2-litre V8, and they've given it independent suspension all round.
Wow.
Independent?
So they looked at a car and they thought, it's got 4 separate wheels. Maybe, what if we treated them all sort of separate?
Yeah, like they've been doing in Europe for 100 years.
I still think, what if that, look at that, turns out to be good at it, because you don't know yet.
Richard, the Americans are good at herding bison. The end.
Still maintain it might turn out to be good and they will all want...
OK, what is this underneath? Underneath this is a Vauxhall VXR, isn't it?
Yeah.
OK, which is actually a Holden. So what the Americans have done, yeah, is they've gone, we need some sophistication here. We'll call the Australians. That is like saying, I want some style for my wedding, I'll get 7 crates of lager. Do you know, you're the sort of person I could show you a picture of Paris Hilton and you'd say, what if she turns out to be intelligent?
But what if she did? What if she did?
All right, that's enough news. So now, Mazda. Over the years, they've built up a fearsome reputation for making very sensible small cars and the worst television commercials in all of human history. This, however, is their latest creation. Plainly, they wanted to give it a name which conjured up an image of aggression and anger, but unfortunately the job of naming it was given to someone from Birmingham, so it's ended up being called the Furoi. The chassis is from an American Le Mans racer, which is the same as a European Le Mans racer, only fatter. Body, that was clearly designed by someone with a Batman fixation. I think it looks absolutely brilliant, actually, although if you take it to a film premiere, it'll probably take a swing at its sister. Allegedly, that is, of course. The engine, Wankel, 1.9 litre, 460 brake horsepower, 2.6 miles to the gallon. And, annoyingly, broken.
Which means we can't put it round our test track. So instead, I'm going to answer a question that literally a viewer has asked. I have their letter here. It says, Dear so-called Top Gear, I'm aware that there are many elegant and dramatic supercars that I could buy. Well, yeah, things like these. But as I am the victim of a botched eye operation, what I want is a supercar that is catastrophically ugly. Can you help? Yes, I think I can. This could be the answer to your problems. It's a new supercar from Germany. And, well, it's not exactly a looker. Let me put it this way. When Jeremy did the Alpha 8C, the camera crew found there wasn't a single angle that didn't make the car look brilliant. This is the exact opposite. No, really no. And then there's the problem of the name. Does it have one of those sexy ones, like all the sexiest cars have? You know, Vanquish, Viper, Raptor. No, it's called a Gumpert. So it's got looks only a mother could love and a name like a northern comedian. And for the privilege of driving it, you'll need £250,000. This does beg the question, what do you get for your money? Certainly you're not buying a wondrous Zonda-esque interior. It's just a random collection of bits from Audi. Maybe then it has some amazing options. Well, yes, but don't go looking for night vision or a bathroom. And this, the rear view camera, doesn't count. That's a necessity. There's no back window. Options on the Gumpert are things like this, the traction control. Now, lots of cars have traction control, but the Gumpert's is really quite anorak. It's not a button, it's a knob. You can adjust it so you can be precise. So, hammerhead coming up. I know this corner. 17% on it.
But worry not.
If that doesn't work out, there are a whole load of other things you can adjust. You can change the camber, the ride height, the spring tension, the damper bump and rebound, and the anti-roll bar. Oh, yeah. There you are, Monte Carlo, Claudia Schiffer in your supercar. Please, can we go to the party now? Oh, no, love, hold on. A lot of corners. We're going to dial in some extra camber.
With the camber adjusted, I went for an... Oh,
You see, I think some of those settings are not an option. Just leave them alone. I've had this experience with one of my bikes. All you ever do is make things worse.
there is one option this car doesn't have, and it's one I quite like.
The option to move your seat backwards and forwards. And that's because the comfort people got fed up with drivers moving their seats around and messing up their perfect weight distribution.
So, minging looks, seats you can't move, and gizmos only Lewis Hamilton could make sense of. I think you're getting the picture by now that this is no Riviera cruiser. Their fastest version, the Apollo Race, has 800 brake horsepower. But if you just pass your driving test, they do what they call an entry-level version, 650 brake horsepower. This is the mid-range. I suppose they'd call it the Popular Plus, 700 brake horsepower. And this is where it all starts to come good, because whichever gunput you choose, it's going to be fast. The engine is Audi's 4.2-litre V8, but with added twin turbos, all wrapped up in featherweight carbon fibre.
0 to 63 seconds. Top speed, 224 miles an hour.
So let's see how much of that we can get on our modest run line.
That's 200 kilometres an hour, that's 120 miles an hour. 280 kilometres an hour, which is very fast. 300 kilometres an hour. I'm going to start braking, I think.
That's 186 miles an hour in 1.7 miles. And when you get to a corner, just as long as you've not been fiddling with anything, it is brilliant.
The grip! My eyes are a foot that side of my head.
Suddenly, you realise why this thing looks like a boil on the buttock of a baboon.
It's got downforce. That's what all those holes and fins and grills are for.
If you want a supercar you can park with pride in Monte Carlo's Casino Square, this probably isn't for you. There are many other cars that will do that job much better.
But the comfort guys in their little German factory have gone down another path. Hardcore Street. And I do believe that on this track, old Quasimodo here will destroy every supercar alive.
Are you really suggesting this is going to be quicker around the track than sort of lots of the really fast stuff?
It is unbelievably quick. But I'd say the amazing thing about this car, you know in the film I said it generates downforce to stick it to the road? Well, Gumpert say it generates so much that it could drive upside down and still stick to the roof of the
you haven't
tunnel.
fallen for that old chestnut. Every Formula One team says, oh, you can drive our cars upside down. And the only reason they say that is because they know we can't prove them wrong.
Yeah, but Gumpert are going to prove it. They've built an engine that will work upside down, especially.
Yeah, and the tunnel?
And they've found a tunnel that can do it in.
OK, so how fast do you have to drive to generate enough downforce or upforce to stick it?
190 miles an hour.
Right, so they're going to get someone to drive at 190 miles an hour down the roof of a tunnel, swerving between all the signposts and fans and lights.
Well, you see, that's the thing. They've found the tunnel to do it in, but they haven't yet found anyone stupid enough to drive it.
Well, this is the last show.
No, I can't. No, I can't. I'm
Why
busy.
not?
I'm busy. I'm painting my horse. I just can't do it. Anyway, we must now find out how fast it goes round our track, which means we must put it in the hands of our tame racing driver. Some say it's impossible for him to wear socks. And he can open a beer bottle with his testes. All we know is he's called the Stick. And he's off. Not a scorching start. Stick just carefully metering out the power, of which there is a lot, of course. up to the first corner now. Hopefully, he's going to be going fast enough to get that downforce working, and that is neat. I've got high hopes for this. Really, I have. Yeah, Stig's still apparently touched by Elton John. Maybe he actually enjoys it. That is fantastically controlled through Chicago. Hammerhead now, slower corner. Could be in trouble if the fancy aerodynamics can't do their stuff there. Not a bit of it, though. It's so undramatic, and I suspect that could be this car's secret. Right, the follow-through. Really pin it open now. Will he have to lift? Not likely. You can almost see it being pressed into the tarmac. It's so flat through the corners, like a racing car. Up to Cambon. Finally biting back, but Stig's on it, and across the line.
Hang on, wait. If you're right, it's going to be up with what? The Zonda, the Koenigsegg, the Ascari?
Yep, stuff at the top. Ascari did it in 1:17.3. So the Gumpert did it in 1:17.1. It is the fastest thing ever!
That really is incredible, because that is the first car Hammond has driven around our circuit, or driven on our circuit, I should say, this year, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's gone to the top of the leaderboard, which he can't reach.
No, I can. I just need a bit of a run-up. Hold on,
This is going to be undignified.
That's not worked. It's on. It's on.
You monumental. OK, that's one lap record smashed. Quite literally. Now let's see if we can't deal with another one. Now this is a list of all the stars who've driven our reasonably priced car, and Simon Cowell has now been at the top for the last 2 series, OK? Which we think is long enough. So what we've done is we went back, looked at all the people who drove our old reasonably priced car, found the biggest petrol head, and invited him back. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome JK! You have been nagging. Honestly, there hasn't been a week go by. How long is it since you were here?
I was here on the first series. I think I was the second guy.
You were the second guest ever?
Second guest ever.
No, there hasn't been a week, really, I think I'm honest, gone by since then to now when you haven't been on the phone going, can I come back, can I come back?
Yeah, I did. I have to say, I felt left out. I felt lonely. I sat in my kitchen watching it thinking, when will I come back?
You were always on the phone.
When will I beat the man with the codpiece?
Oh, Simon.
Codpiece Cal.
Codpiece Cal. Actually, I've just remembered something. What is it you said to the researcher? When we rang up and said, can you come back?
I said, I'm down here for war.
Yes, you did.
I'm down here for war.
It's actually...
I'm not here to muck about. I'm not here to be 13th. I'm not here to beat James Blunt. I'm here to be top there. Do you know
so first or nothing else will do?
I'm not here to beat James Blunt's album sales either.
No, because how many have you sold in total? 25?
25 million or something.
25 million, and you can't read music?
Thank you, everybody. It's not there. Thank you.
There's somebody else. There's a lot of albums. Now, I won't bother going through the list of everything you've got, because the programme's only an hour long. But how many cars have you got these days?
Oh, there are 37 vehicles, including motorbike. That's including motorbike and staff cars, because the people that work for me. Staff cars.
Staff cars.
Staff cars. They don't have little flags and swastikas on, do they? or sort of, 2 wheels at the front and a half track at the back.
At the back, yes. So since you were last here, what have been the main changes? Well, what's in...
Well, the main stuff is that I've got into Porsches for some unknown reason. I bought, not so long ago, well, about 3 or 4 years, I bought an RS Touring, which is the factory sunroof, rear seat, 911, Carrera down the side, wider arches, 2.7 engine. Then I got a 911 GT3 RS. The reason being because I thought this car is going to be a future classic.
At present, a 997?
A 997 GT3 RS, yeah. I've then subsequently gone and got myself a 911 RS lightweight. No,
because I still genuinely don't get the appeal of 911s.
Right.
I mean, have you driven a modern-day turbo?
Not for a while, but I've driven the RS.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
So you drive that, or even a GT3 RS. Okay, I drive that and think, well, actually, this is a nice car. I don't like it, but it's a nice car.
Yeah.
Then I got into a GT2 the other day, the new GT2.
Yeah, turbo, yeah.
It's absolutely hideously horrid.
No.
And all the
what don't you like about it?
Well, it's because it does everything you expect a 911 to do. You get that bounce. You know what I mean by that front-end bounce?
Yeah.
And they have that understeer. And if you do anything about the understeer, they switch immediately to death-dealing oversteer.
Could it be that you're not driving it properly?
Turn the steering. I turned the steering
that
wheel.
weird?
I mean, that lightweight you've got, that RS.
Air-cooled stuff, yeah.
Yeah, the air-cooled one is one day going to kill you. It's sitting in your garage now, plotting how it's going to do it. Has anyone here got a 911? See, they've all been killed. They were on their way, and they're all now in a tree like that. Honestly, I just don't get them.
Brilliant.
There are a number of other things.
Yeah.
He's got a Mercedes Grosser.
Mine was owned by Coco Chanel.
It was actually owned by Coco Chanel.
Yeah.
Your one was. Mine was owned by the Egyptian ambassador.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
When I get in it, I just cover myself in number 5.
And you've got a CSL BMW now.
Tell us about the GQ Awards.
Oh, that's, yes. Well, yeah, it's another thing we've got in common. We've both won awards from
You got Worst Dressed Man, I got Star Man of the Year. Mind you, that one. Look, dear, I like them. What? Get off.
So that people at the
There's
back...
nothing wrong with them.
Style of the year.
They're nice.
It's not nice, it's hideous.
Just because Alpine Stars don't make you shoes.
No, because I go to a shoe shop and say, have you got a pair of shoes?
Have you got a pair of shoes for a hippo?
Right, now listen, we've talked about cars long enough, which is great talking to you.
Which is great.
We genuinely
do
share the same...
passions. We like the same motors. We do like the same.
It is, and we do have the same sort of cars.
Yeah.
Right, the lab.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, when you came last time, old Stig. So what's new Stig like? Now he's regenerated.
Well, I've been out with a new Stig who is sort of in the master class, isn't he? I've just been out in that C63.
He is an extremely good...
extraordinarily good
Well, he's
driver.
quicker than Lewis Hamilton and Nigel Mansell and Mark Webber.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, when you're talking to him, we got outside, just had a bit of dinner. And chatting away, I said, "What are you gonna have? You're gonna have the ribs and the coleslaw?" And you suddenly find you're talking to this guy with this screen, and then what happens? He lifts it up for a bit of air, and then you start doing that, trying to look underneath who it is, and then he goes and shuts it again.
No, he's just filtering out the carbon dioxide. He runs on pure nitrogen. Anyway, he coached you.
He did.
You had your 9 laps, and obviously, there's no point this week saying where do you think you've come.
He did.
Because you want to be here, don't you?
Yeah, what can I say? But yes.
More than an ex-Grammy?
Yes! Do you know, people stop me in the street and go, when you're back on Top Gear, when are you going to be Simon Cowell? Don't give a about the music. But let's get on with it then.
No, Simon Cowell is... That's what Simon Cowell's doing at home now. No! Who wants to see his lap? All right, nice start.
This is the one. I must beat Mr. Codpiece.
Okay, no, let's have a look at that corner, you see. No, that's...
You're scrubbing.
Scrubbing a bit, but not so Why are we angry?
Because it's a gutless piece of American and I hate it. Come on, let's start shaving little bits of Gordon Ramsay Parmesan cheese off this.
There's Gordon Ramsay, he's third, of course.
Turn in, you pillock.
No, you're in, just...
Come on.
I'd have done that tight around there, personally.
Come on. You really are a gutless bit of Yankee honestly.
You're cutting that corner, we allow that because it's slipperier there. There's a man determined.
Go on, get in there.
That is about as good as I've ever seen anyone do the second to last corner.
Come on! I can't take it. Do you know, I was sitting there yesterday. I thought, Top Gear tomorrow. I'm watching the right stuff, which I really enjoy. Sod it, get to bed, and make sure you're fresh as a daisy.
What, you had an early night?
I had an early night, yeah.
So that you'd be capable of doing that?
Capable of doing this.
Well, what I've got here, this is the piece of paper just been given to me by the producer with all your 9 laps.
This isn't important, this, is it? There are more important things going on in the world. This is not important. But it is important.
So, your fastest lap of the 9.
Oh, Christ, what is it there?
What was he? 140.
Nothing. 45.9.
45.9.
Come on, surely.
Your fastest lap? 1.
I hate this. I watch other people. I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to watch other people.
40. 6.2. Was your second fastest lap?
Look, all I want to do...
146.2 was your second fastest.
Please let me pull out a fact.
You did another 146.2, 148.22.
Yeah, that was when
149.
Yeah, but that was when I got the wrong gear.
147, 148, and then on lap 8, That will be your quickest. 1. Well, you've got 1:45.9 to beat. 1:45.8. It was a 1:45.81. You can take that home if you want to frame it.
Yes. Who's the daddy now?
Not Simon Cowell. So we're back in the autumn,
Brilliant.
and the first guest, I'm guessing, will be Simon Cowell.
Brilliant.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a huge pleasure. New number 1.
Thank you.
JK!
Thank you.
There's a new TV show in Germany. It's all about cars, and it's hosted by 3 people.
I can't imagine where they got that idea from. No idea. Anyway, they got in touch with us, and they invited us to take them on in a series of races and challenges.
Now, obviously, we needed somewhere to stage this.
Yes, I suggested we did it in the skies over southern England.
In fact, we settled on Belgium, which was a country invented so that Britain and Germany would have somewhere to sort out their differences.
And on that point, the producers told us, now listen, you're representing the BBC. You can't just turn up and go on about the war.
The meet was set for 9 a.m. at Belgium's second best-known racetrack, Zolder. And at precisely 9 o'clock, our German rivals arrived in their impressive German cars.
Typisch. Wir sind pünktlich.
Ah ja, wir machen die gleich lang, dann fahren wir wieder nach Hause. Ist kein Akt, kann man mal 5 Minuten warten, oder?
In fact, we were not late. We were simply arriving in style. We're on our own, we're playing for time, and it's running out.
I think we might have overdone this.
Oh, it could be worse. Could have come in the back of Bobby Charlton.
Jeremy?
How are you?
Hi.
Good to see you. Good to see you. How are you? Our small talk was friendly, but to be honest, we were a bit nervous.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir.
Sure, they had a jolly man in a suit. He's called Karsten von Ryssen, and he has no racing experience at all. But then they also had Tim Schreck, a touring car driver, and Sabine Schmitz, the Nürburgring specialist. And they were up against us lot. The first challenge had been dreamed up by the Germans. It's called double-decker racing, and the idea is very simple. The car on the bottom has a throttle, brakes and gears, but no steering wheel, because that's fitted to the car on the top. Now, because there are only 3 presenters on each side and you need 8 people to operate the 4 cars, each team is allowed to get someone from their film crew to help out. And that's a problem for the Germans, because while they have a sound recordist, a cameraman and a director, he is the same man. So their coverage of this race is going to look like this. Mind you, it's not that brilliant for us, because although we have a very large film crew, there was only 1 volunteer to sit above me, and if I'm honest, it's not the one I would have picked. Still, he is very brave. He once fought a shark. He lost, but anyway.
We do 6 laps, and we have 6 white stripes.
Okay.
If you finish the first one, you take 1 off.
Okay. James?
Yeah?
Will you promise to use the throttle and not
Yes.
just the brake?
It's a bit odd not having a steering wheel.
These Metros always had quite good steering, so this is a good way round to do it.
It doesn't make any difference, you idiot.
No, the steering's done by the Metro.
I know, but you're steering the Jag.
The good thing here is they've got Golfs on the roof. Now, Golfs are heavy, Metros are made out of snakeskin.
Right. Here we go.
Yes!
Oh, hang on, Jeremy!
We've got an early lead! Yeah!
We're already at the back!
Jesus, that's going to roll over if we're not careful.
At the end of lap 1, the German system was working well. Whereas in the Metro Squadron... Yep.
No, what are you doing? Left!
Left! Smooth!
Left, right!
Then there was a complete communication breakdown.
Whoa, left!
The Germans were now first and second.
It's a disaster!
And then there was another one. My wingmen went mad.
I'm on the inside. Whoa! No!
What the hell have you done that for?
What do you mean? That was your fault! How can it be my fault? You're on the bloody steering.
James and Richard think it's all over, and they're right.
Rubbish, you steered into the gravel. It's designed to stop Formula One cars. How the hell did you think a Jaguar with a Metro on its roof? This was our darkest hour.
We've been annihilated!
With us out, all we could hope was that Jeremy and Kif the Sandman would race on cleanly and fairly.
Ram him! Ram! Go, Kip! Yes, they've gone wrong! Kip, we got him!
Tim Schrick was not just off, he was out. Now it was just us versus Sabina and a man in a suit.
Help yourself, Kip, there's no fighter escort. On the inside! Back, yes! Go, Kip! They've gone down!
Keen to defend his country and his job on Top Gear, Kif made a bold move.
That's giving them something to think about.
It also gave us something to think about.
Whoa, Jeremy, my arms come off!
What?
My arms come off!
Nobody's ever said that in a car race before.
We were now on the last lap.
Get on the inside, Kip, with the lawn!
This is quite difficult now, Jeremy!
What? Oh, no, it's the finish! No! I've let Britain down! Oh, no!
Hopefully, though, we could redeem ourselves in the next challenge.
Who makes the fastest cars, the Axis powers or the Allies?
You came up with this one, didn't you?
Yes.
And you haven't thought it through, have you?
Well, I did. It's brilliantly simple. It's just a drag race. Let's meet the contenders. On their side, from Germany, the highly modified Porsche 9FF. From Italy, the Lamborghini Murcielago. That's the LP640 version. From Japan, the Mitsubishi Evo 10. That's the FQ360.
Yes, that's theirs, and now ours.
Our side, from England, and driven by Wing Commander Danny Hammond, is the Ariel Atom, the supercharged version. And then from America, I was thinking of you here, Corporal, is the Callaway Corvette, also supercharged.
And like I was saying, you haven't thought it through, have you? Because, let me guess, James, New Zealand makes a V16 rocket car that somehow we don't know about.
They don't. However, India was on our side, so whilst I waited for one of their cars to turn up, I sent the others off to neuter the 250-mile-per-hour Porsche. And they decided it would have trouble putting its 1,000 horsepower down off the line.
Miles an hour. Yeah. So what we need is a really short race. I mean, if the race is a quarter of a mile, this is still going to be sitting here spinning its wheels, isn't it?
Right, you're going to love this. There are rules and regulations, you like that sort of thing, concerning a drag race, and they are always a quarter of a mile. It's a standard.
No.
Yes.
No, it is. That's no.
We
It's just,
5 kilometers.
yeah, 1
At
kilometre.
least 1 kilometer.
if you say a quarter of a mile, everybody knows what that is because it's the standard measure. Half-kilometre burger, please. No, it's
You don't. It's a quarter pounder, and you have a quarter-mile drag race. It's the British way.
Let's do it.
With the 9FF hopefully out of it, my attention turned to the Lamborghini.
And what I'm hoping, praying, is that being Italian, it changes sides halfway down.
As we got ready, James's Indian car finally turned up.
Supercharged, charged. So, Freunde. Jetzt könnt ihr einpacken.
James, don't forget to turn your traction control off, mate.
Cock. I've just remembered the Australians. They do that BXR thing.
Lofty Hammond got a lightning start.
This is unbelievable acceleration!
The Atom and the Atom would clearly win, but who'd come second?
Come on! Come on!
The Lambo's got me!
But could I hold off that monstrous Porsche? Yes!
Yeah! That is ours! That is ours!
Scheißgangschaltung!
So,
Yeah!
how do you feel now? So we were first... Let's just say that again, let's make it clear. First.
First.
Third.
And last.
What do you say, last?
Last.
That's what, sixth.
There's a symmetry to that. We have first and last. The two most significant places in a drag race are
And
owned
the
by
middle.
us. We own the whole
Okay,
territory now.
You won the double-deckers. We've got some points back.
The drag race marked the end of the team challenges. From now on, it would be 1-on-1.
Now, for this event, Germany will be represented by ring mistress, racing driver Sabina Schmidt. We will be represented by that.
Anyway, the cars. Each team must bring something small, reasonably priced, and from their own country. So we've come up with this. It's a Mini Cooper S. Sabina, what have you got?
I've got that car.
What? The Golf?
No, the Mini Cooper, of course.
Weren't you listening?
It's
have to get
German.
It's from your own country.
That's a Mini. That's German. It's a Mini.
Yeah,
You can't get more British than a Mini. It's
Alec Isigonis. How much more of a British name is there than Isigonis, apart from
every-
Patel? Put a Union Jack on the roof. OK, so we're in the same cars. We'll just let them do it.
So, the International Small Car Challenge. And it goes like this. Slalom through the Ming vases.
Steering is so easy. Whoa.
Reverse into the garage of priceless crockery. Then take a J-turn penalty, which, amazingly, the German missed. Next, drive a figure of 8 while a member of the other team shoots at you from a paintball tank. With 1 point off for each hit, escape the arena through a tunnel we shall call Dick.
Yay!
But then it was Jeremy's turn.
Good luck.
Here we go. So far, not one hit. That's the ticket. Oh,
Still, things could only get better.
whoa, I've scored myself.
I only had the figure of 8 to redeem myself.
Come on, handbrake. Awful lot of bullets hitting me here.
And no wonder.
James, what are you doing?
Shooting at Jeremy.
Oh, he's on our side!
Yeah, but why wouldn't you?
You're right, you won't. Fire!
Come on, through, Dick. Yes.
Even that went wrong. So, I was trailing on points. But I could win some back in the final part of the challenge. A head-to-head one-lap race around the Zolder circuit. The winner would be the first one to get their towel on the sunbed.
On a date with destiny. She's ahead by what she'd call a metre. She's braking early now. I'm not going to do that.
I dived down the inside.
I'm in the lead! I'm not in the lead!
Kann er nicht auf dem Fernsehen, Putzi. Muss nicht dem. Geht doch nicht.
The TV idiot was trying everything to get past.
Oh, wie krasse.
Come on, Jeremy!
This really was a proper race.
I'm not talking, this matters.
Oh, der knackt mir aber am Hintern. Der ist ja doch noch ein bisschen Talent.
Jeremy, let him get something right.
No, no, no!
There's no possibility in this environment of beating a German.
Yes, feeble.
And then you
Sorry.
didn't.
Were you shooting at me in that tank?
He was, yeah, he did that.
After that debacle, we were trailing by 9 points. But I was handling the next challenge, and it was to be a shootout in my kind of car, the incredible Bowler Nemesis. 4.4 litre V8, 300 brake horsepower, 0 to 60, 6 seconds. Top speed, 130 miles an hour. But as always with a bowler, it can do that anywhere on anything. And better still, my opponent would be the accountant. Driven a bowler before? No. Good, good. Well, they're terrifying.
Does he not do any racing? He doesn't.
No, never. He hasn't got a car.
No, he has a license, that's it.
One driver dislodged his lung when he went too fast. Yeah. But you'll be fine, you'll enjoy it. Good luck. It would be a 5-lap race over a track that was 60% tarmac and, thanks to James, 60% gravel.
You're off. Come on, mighty bowler. Ich mache einen kleinen Fehler.
On tarmac, the accountant kept up, but once we hit the dirt, he wouldn't see me for dust.
Yes! I like it.
Meanwhile, back at base,
Sit down, Colonel.
You're not interested in these, are you?
Do you know what? Your mind cannot comprehend of how uninterested I am in things like this.
Back on track, Hammond couldn't shake the man in a suit off his tail. He was clearly a worthy adversary.
Keep your foot in, Hammond, be brave.
Du hast vielleicht mehr Grip, aber ich hab mehr Grip.
A point Hammond proved moments later.
If you don't get that going, Hammond, for us, the competition is over.
That didn't go well then.
this was a race we had to win, but the Vat Man had a big lead.
Oh, I'm going to get grief for this now. This is not good.
Cooler, 8 weeks.
Where's the track gone? Oh.
Is he gaining?
He's gaining.
On the last corner, I decided to take him on the outside.
I could have him here. Yes! Yeah!
Well done, then.
Well done, yes.
You know what a bad loser is? Well, Hammond is what's called a bad winner.
Yes! What do you think of that? Well done. Congratulate me, then I won. Did you notice I was first?
After Hammond's modest win, we were trailing by just 4 points as we went into the last event.
It's a 2-lap race of the Zolder circuit, and it's between a Porsche 911, a racing Porsche 911, which will be driven by professional racing driver Tim Schreck. And he will be against an Aston Martin DB RS9, which will be driven by James May.
Do we have to use James?
Well, no, you did the bowler thing, I did the mini thing, it's his turn.
But he's gonna lose badly.
Happily, though, I'd come up with a plan.
Do you know what I mean?
Clever. Very clever.
Yes, that's him.
It's James.
Yeah, it's James. He's coming for the race.
He always
You lost 30
always...
kilos in 5 minutes.
Yeah, he always dresses like this when he drives a racing. James, best of luck, mate.
Good luck,
And
mate.
his hair,
Best of
I will
luck.
cut
Good
his hair.
Yeah, it's lost, he wears a hairnet.
Don't disturb him when he's focused and in the zone, ready for a race. He's ice cool. Well, this could work. There's every chance.
It would be a rolling start, and because we were 4 points behind, James, who's now warming his tyres, look, had to set off 4 seconds after the Porsche. The race was on. The simple fact of the matter is this. Our young man had to shoot down their young man at the rate of 2 seconds a lap.
If he does throttle on the straight, I'm sure it's not kept slow.
I know, on the...
Well, you know, that's his nickname. It's like, you know, we call him Lofty. It's the opposite.
Towards the end of the first lap, James had closed the gap to just 1 second. James was driving brilliantly, but then disaster. He locked up, he lost ground, and then he had the work to do all over again. Happily, James is no quitter, and with half a lap to go, he was right back under the Porsche's wing. With just 2 corners to go, he made his move.
I want to see.
I can hear them both.
Which car would appear first? Which one?
Stay, James!
Some say you saved our bacon.
Others say I was bound and gagged in the locker room.
Yes,
And on that bombshell, that bouncing bombshell, it's now time to end. If you are a German and you have any complaints about the film you've just seen, though, do please feel free to write to us. Our address is 1966, El Alamein Square, 1939 to 1945, Jutland Street, London, WE1. Again, so we'll see you in the autumn. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Good night!
Next on BBC Two, rotten roads and annoying police escorts make the long way round feel even longer as Ewan and Charlie ride into Kazakhstan. And on BBC Three, a young girl with a dream meets Sasha, beauty queen at just 11.